Oh, it was a cute little plane, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it was a nice landing, Don.
Thanks.
Wish I could say the same about your last one.
Yeah.
This is the airplane I crashed in May 19th this year. I built this from a kit at the factory in Nampa, Idaho last year. And I had about 20 hours on it before I crashed it. I had just flown down to Mica Peak and I disabled 1, 2, 3, 4 mountaintop arrays in that one flight on the west side of the valley and across the Spokane River to the mountains over there. And I was running out of gas, which I knew I would, so I picked a big field to land in. I glided down from the top of the mountain in this huge field, made a very nice landing, filled the fuel tank, and started to take off, but there was a downdraft from a ridge that was upwind that was constantly sending the air back down to the ground, and what they call a rotor. And I didn't have enough experience to understand that, so I wasn't getting any lift. So I was flying into the wind, but as the wind was coming down, I wasn't getting off the ground very high. I was about 20, 30 feet up. So I banked to the left to try to get a more favorable wind and immediately lost control. And so I was going about 40 miles an hour. I cut the power really quick, and the plane just went right down in the ground. You can see it hit the nose and the landing gear, broke it up, bent the wing, and I walked away unharmed, thankfully. This is wing I tore up last week to make the earth pipes for Lake Pend Oreille. So there was something a little funny about the crash that didn't seem entirely natural. The wind wasn't very strong that day. It was maybe 10 miles an hour. And that's why it felt safe for me to take off. And when the psychics looked at it later on, they said there was a wall of energy around the aircraft. It was like a barrier. And when I lost control of the plane, I looked, and I was going plenty fast enough to be able to bank it or go up or down, and nothing happened when I moved the controls. And if I hadn't cut the power, I probably would have hurt. Whenever a person decides to do some good in this world, he's going to have some opposition. And in our case, we're opposed by every sewer rat agency on the planet, no matter where we travel. When we were in Florida, I got a Ken doll and I did him up like this because that was the worst trouble we had ever had with feds. The FBI killed my dog and they were just all over us. They even sent a SWAT team one time. We just got sick of it. So we also got this thing. We also got this. And I keep it by the bed. And they know that. It's unloaded. I don't even like to shoot the thing. They don't know that. They don't believe me when I say that. So, but it stops them from coming into our bedroom at night. And I'm facing the front door. This is the first thing they see when they come in. So I know it puts them off balance a little bit. You can't stop them from coming in your house because they can unlock any door. And they can even materialize. They have that technology. And I was thinking of putting flypaper around when it got really bad one time during one period. They kept showing up in the hallway, but I didn't do it. The first time we put up our Cloudbuster was in March of 2001 in Fort Pierce, Florida. I had it up for a few hours before we took it on the road. We were going up north and to do give some vortexes that were in bad shape. And, I didn't know if it would make rain or do anything at all. So we were in a motel a few nights later, and I saw a perfectly round rainstorm centered on Fort Pierce. And that was the effect of the Cloudbuster. And when I got back, a neighbor told me that that rain lasted for 2 weeks, and they were in the middle of the worst drought in memory at the time. There was a artificially induced drought, HAARP. The Cloudbuster works on the upper atmosphere. It works in the higher areas of where weather takes place, which is above the cumulus clouds. And that's where they put the chemtrails, and that's where they focus most of the HAARP assaults. So when you see whited out sky, if you observe when you fly in an airliner, when you get up about 25,000 feet, you're going to see an extremely thin layer, paper-thin layer of flat cloud that blocks out the blue sky. It doesn't block the sun because it's too thin. But I think this is mainly done for psychological effect, because blue skies cheer people up, and beautiful cumulus clouds, they make people happy. So the harpies, I call them harpies, H-A-A-R-P-I-E-S, some years ago figured out how to block rain, and so they block the formation of cumulus clouds and to white out the sky. And when Carol and I came back west from the East Coast in June 2001, just about everywhere we went was dense smog, no cumulus clouds, and a white sky. And the worst of the smog was in the Hopi Reservation, strange to say, and lots of chemtrails. And we would point the Cloudbuster out the front of the truck and clear a blue path through all this mess, and it was pretty exhilarating. But after they built all the death towers, you couldn't do this anymore, because the death towers create a lot of smog in the lower atmosphere. And smog is the colloidal suspension of toxic material in the air. That's why it's brown and yellow. When you see white haze in the air, that's actually a good thing. That's water suspended in the air. That's potential rain. But smog is always brown or yellow. And a Cloudbuster, or any Orgonite, tends to apparently ionize the atmosphere for quite some distance around, so that these toxic particles become ionized and they drop out of the sky. Colloidal silver is a process of ionization. An abundance of ion is carried by free silver particles, and they space each other throughout a fluid by this electrical charge. They repel each other by an electrical charge. And that's the good thing. And this is when you have an abundance of ions. And ions are a sign of life force. Free ions. That's electricity. When smog is present, you have a deficit of ions, and that's how the toxic particles repel each other. It's through their net deficit of ions. And it's how the blood becomes poisoned as well by parasites. They excrete acidic material in the blood, and this material eats away healthy tissue and suspends toxic particles in the blood, which is carried to other parts of the body, which destroys more living tissue and so forth. Worms, bacteria, viruses, fungus, they all operate this way, much like the world order does. So I got into this whole thing through the zapping business and observing the effects of zappers on people, and I was quite astonished to see that Orgonite has the same effect on the atmosphere and on social order, same positive effect as the ionization of the blood does.